The sacrifice they pulled her through the dust like she was nothing. Chains rattled around her hands and feet. Mira, the last human in the alien city of Varnak, was going to die today. Crowds of aliens gathered on the sides of the stone street, their eyes cold, their mouths smiling. Some threw small rocks, some laughed. Others just stared. To them, she was not a girl, not a life, just a human, a monster in their eyes. Guards with metal armor dragged her toward the gate. Two massive doors opened with a deep grinding sound, revealing the world beyond the city wall. Outside was the dead zone, a place full of wild alien creatures, beasts with sharp teeth and no mercy. This was where they sent people to be eaten alive. The guards didn't speak to her. They didn't need to. Everyone knew her crime. Being human, that was enough. They tied her to a metal post near a dry riverbed. The post was old, stained with blood, the ground covered in scratch marks. Mira looked at the sky, red and dusty. She was only 19, too. Young for death, but too old for mercy. One guard stepped forward and spat near her feet. "She will scream soon," he said to the crowd. "They always scream." The crowd laughed again. Then they left. The gate shut behind them with a loud boom. Silence followed. Only the wind moved now. Myra pulled at the chains, but they were tight. Her wrists already bleeding. She looked around, searching for anything, any hope, any chance. But there was nothing. Nothing but rocks, dirt, and death. Suddenly, a low growl echoed in the wind. Her heart jumped. The beasts were coming. They smelled blood. They loved the sound of fear. She could feel them watching from the hills, waiting for darkness. Mira closed her eyes, not because she gave up, but because she refused to let them see her. Cry somewhere far off. A bird-like creature screamed. Then silence again. And then another sound-soft, careful footsteps in the dust. Not heavy like the guards, not wild like the beasts. Something else, someone else. She opened her eyes, scanned the area. Nothing. Then a voice, low and calm, from behind a large broken rock. "Don't move," it said. Mira froze. Her breath caught in her throat. "Who's there?" She whispered. No answer. Then the voice came closer. "Keep your head down." She obeyed, confused, afraid. But something inside told her this voice was human. The chains clicked, and she felt one wrist come free. Then the other. She turned quickly. Eyes wide, a man stood behind her, tall, dirty, with scars across his face. He wore an old human military jacket, torn but still proud. His eyes were sharp, but kind. "You're human," Mira said, almost in disbelief. He nodded once. "Names?" "Kale." "I thought I was the only one," she whispered. "You're not," he replied, looking toward the hills. "But we don't have much time." The growls were louder now, close. Kale grabbed her arm, pulling her away from the post. "Can you run?" he asked. Myra nodded, legs shaking. Yes. Together, they moved through the rocks, staying low, fast, careful. The beasts howled in the distance. One of them appeared on a hill tall. Black skin, forelegs, eyes glowing like fire. Kale pulled out a small flare, threw it to the left. It lit up bright and red, drawing the creature away. They ran the other way, through cracks in the land, down into a narrow cave hidden beneath the ground. Inside, it was dark, but safe for now. Mira dropped to her knees, gasping for air, heart racing. "Why did you help me?" she asked after a long pause. Kale looked at her, serious. "Because I was once tied to that same post," he said, "and no one came for me." Mira stared at him, understanding slowly growing in her eyes. "You survived?" "I did," he answered. "And now we fight." Outside, the beasts searched the land, but they would not find her tonight. And deep inside that cave, for the first time in many years, two humans sat side by side. The fire of hope was small, but it burned again. Asterisk, the stranger. In the dust asterisk, the cave was cold, dark, and smelled like rust and smoke. Mira sat near a small fire, wrapping her wounded hands in cloth torn from her shirt. Her skin hurt, her legs burned, but she was alive. Kale moved quietly through the cave, checking traps, listening for sounds from above. He wasn't just hiding here, he was surviving. Every step he took was careful, like a man who had been hunted for too long. Myra watched him in silence, her heart still beating fast. She didn't know if she was safe with him, or just in a different kind of danger. "Why are you here?" she finally asked, voice low. Kale didn't look at her. "Same reason as you," he said. "They hate what they fear." She frowned. "I didn't do anything." "They don't care," Kale said. "You were born human. That's enough for them." His voice had no anger, only truth. Myra looked around the cave, saw strange marks on the walls. Human writing dates, names, maybe prayers. "Did you live here all this time?" Kale sat down across from her, eyes locked on the fire. 10 years, he said. "Since the fall of New Terra." Myra's eyes widened. "New Terra was destroyed?" He nodded. "Burned to the ground. Children, soldiers, doctors. No one was spared." She felt her stomach twist. "They told us humans started the war," she whispered. "That we attacked first." Kale laughed, but it wasn't a happy laugh. "They always say that. Makes it easier to kill us." Outside, a low howl echoed through the rocks, followed by another. The beasts were back, still searching, still hungry. Mira shivered, not from the cold, but from the memory of being tied, helpless, food for monsters. Kale stood, picked up a small box from the shadows, and opened it slowly. Inside was something wrapped in leather, old and damaged but deadly. A pulse blade, human tech, outlawed long ago. Mira stared. "Where did you get that?" Kale's eyes glinted. "Took it from a dead man, just before they found me." He handed her a second item, small, silver, almost like a key. "This belonged to your father," he said. She froze. "My father? You knew him?" Kale nodded slowly. "He saved me once. Now I save you." Tears stung her eyes, but she held them back. "Was he alive when you saw him last?" Kale looked away and didn't answer. That silence was louder than any word. Mira stood up, pain shooting through her side, but she didn't care. "I want to fight," she said. "I want them to know they can't break us." Kale studied her face, saw the fire in her eyes. "You're not ready," he said. "Then make me ready," she replied, voice sharp. A moment of silence passed between them. Then Kale nodded. "We move at dawn." Suddenly, the cave shook slightly, dust falling. From the ceiling, Kale grabbed his weapon and pulled Mira behind a rock. Outside, voices spoke in the alien tongue fast. "Angry, close," Kale whispered. "They found the blood trail." Myra's heart pounded again, louder than the wind. A blue light flashed at the mouth of the cave, scanning the entrance. Kale turned to Mira, his voice calm but firm. "If they find us, you run, no matter what. Don't look back." "I'm not leaving you," she said. He gave her the faintest smile. "That's what your father said too." The scanner light disappeared. The footsteps moved away. For now, they were safe. But war had found them again, and the fight was only beginning outside. One of the alien soldiers bent down near the rocks, picked up a bloodied cloth, sniffed. It then looked up with glowing red eyes. "She's close," he said, "and she's not alone." Hunted and haunted, the cave was no longer safe. Smoke from the scanner still hung in the air like poison. Mira and Kale moved fast, slipping through cracks in the stone walls, deeper into the forgotten tunnels below the dead zone. Every few steps, they stopped to listen. Every echo could be footsteps. Every breeze could carry death. Kale's face was sharp, focused, but Mira noticed something new behind his eyes. Fear. Not fear of death, but fear of memory. "What is this place?" she whispered as they entered a narrow tunnel. Kale touched the wall gently. This was once a human shelter, he said. Before the fall, the walls were covered in black burn marks and old bloodstains. Mira walked slowly, her hand brushing. A broken child's toy half buried in the dust. Families died here, she said softly. Kale didn't respond. He just kept walking. After a while, they reached a metal door, half open, leading into a room with old computers and shattered screens. Kale walked straight to a rusted locker in the corner and opened it. Inside were data pads, maps, and something wrapped in a red cloth. He unwrapped it and revealed an old Earth military badge. Mira stepped closer. That's human command rank. It was mine, Kale said, voice hollow. Myra blinked. You were in the military? I led the defense of Outpost 17, he said, not with pride, but regret. We had women and children inside, and I gave the order to fight. He turned to her slowly, his eyes cold with the weight of years. They didn't survive. Myra stepped back, not because she feared him, but because she now saw how much he feared himself. You did what you had to, she said, gently. Kale looked at her for a long moment, then turned away. You keep saying that, he said, but it never sounds true. Suddenly, the screen beside them lit up with static. Then, a voice cold alien full of hate. She is with him, it said. The ghost of the old war walks again. Kale smashed the screen with his fist, but it was too late. They've tracked us, he growled. He grabbed the data pads, stuffed them into his bag, then handed Mira a small chip. This has every name they erased, every human they killed, he said. If you die, this must survive. I'm not dying, Myra said, voice sharp, aloud. Boom shook the ground. Dust rained from the ceiling. The tunnel lights flickered. Once, then went black. In the silence, the sound of heavy alien boots echoed from the darkness. They're inside, Kale whispered. He grabbed Myra's hand and ran down the tunnel, pulling her through twisting paths and broken doors. Behind them, a voice shouted in alien tongue, followed by laser fire. Sparks lit the tunnel, and Mira screamed as a shot grazed her arm. Kale turned and fired his old pulse blade, the blue light flashing in the dark. A scream, and then silence again. They ran until they reached a metal ladder leading upward. Kale climbed first. Mira followed, blood dripping from her arm. At the top was a hidden hatch that opened into a ruined watchtower. The wind was strong here, the stars above cold and far. Myra dropped beside Kale, breathing hard. We can't keep running, she said. They'll never stop. Kale looked. Across the desert below, where alien ships floated like dark clouds. Then we stop running, he said, and start hunting. Mira turned to him. How? Kale pointed to the horizon. There's an old human base in Sector 9. He said, it was hidden during the war. If it still exists, it might hold enough power to strike back. Myra nodded. Then we go there. Kale looked at her. Arm tore a strip from his cloak and wrapped it tightly. You're stronger than you know, he said. Mira smiled faintly, pain in her eyes, but fire in her voice. I'll become what they fear, she said. Behind them, in the darkness below, the tower, red eyes watched from the shadows. An alien commander raised his hand, fingers curled with rage. Follow them, he whispered. And when you find them, burn everything. As Mira and Kale disappear into the desert, a second human face appears on a distant monitor. Hidden deep underground, he watches them in silence, then turns to someone off-screen. Prepare the signal. He says, the last humans are waking up. Fire in the sky, asterisk. The desert stretched for miles, hot wind cutting like blades. Mira and Kale moved carefully through the ruins of Sector 9. Old machines lay buried in sand, half-eaten by time. The base was hidden under what looked like a collapsed mining site, silent and forgotten. Kale tapped a small panel near a jagged metal wall. Nothing happened. Then, with a hiss, a door opened slowly. revealing a dark tunnel beneath the ground. They stepped inside, leaving the sun and sky behind. The air was cold and heavy. Like something had been sleeping for years, Mira looked around. Broken signs on the walls read, Earth Command Research Division. This was a black site, Kale whispered. They kept things here the rest of the world never saw. As they walked, old lights blinked to life, one by one, lighting their path with a blue glow. Each room they passed told a story. Shattered labs, blood on the floor, claw marks across steel. Something terrible had happened here, but no one came back to bury the truth. At the center of the base, they found a locked chamber. Kale entered a code from memory, and the heavy doors creaked open. Inside was a weapon, not a gun, not a blade, something stranger, older. It floated inside a containment field, glowing faintly like a dying star. Mira stared, confused. What is that? Kale stepped forward, his voice low. They called it the Ember. Core, he said. Pure human tech, banned by every galactic treaty. Why? She asked. Because it doesn't just kill. Kale said, it remembers. Mira didn't understand. Not yet, but she felt it. This wasn't just power. It was history. Every human death, every scream, every sacrifice, it was in there. Suddenly, alarms rang across the base. Red lights flashed. A warning sounded in both alien and human voices. Unauthorized life forms detected. Strike team inbound. Kale turned to Mira. They followed us. He handed her a data core, small and silver. Take this, he said. If we die, someone must know what we found. Mira gripped the core tightly, heart racing. Then, without warning, the chamber shook violently. Metal groaned above them. Drop pod slammed through the ceiling, crashing into the floor with fire and smoke. Alien soldiers poured out cold eyes, sharp weapons, no mercy. Kale pulled Mira behind a console, fired his pulse blade. The chamber lit with blue fire and red blood. Mira found cover and fired too. Her hands steady despite the fear. For the first time, she wasn't just surviving. She was fighting back. One alien charged toward her. She hit the trigger, sent it flying backwards in flames. Kale took a hit to the shoulder, but kept moving. Fall back to the reactor. He shouted. They ran through collapsing halls as more pods dropped from above. And just before they reached the reactor door, Mira stopped, eyes wide. Another figure stood there tall, armored, helmeted in black steel. It wasn't alien. It was human. The figure raised a hand, and the aliens chasing them suddenly froze. Confused, afraid, Kale raised his weapon slowly. Who are you? The figure removed the helmet, revealing a woman with silver eyes and scars across her neck. My name is Captain Alira, she said. Earth never forgot you. Mira stepped forward, stunned. You're from the fleet? Alira nodded. Fragment of it. Yes, we've been watching, waiting for proof that humans survived down here. Mira held up the data core. We found the Ember Core. Alira's eyes widened. Then it's time, she said. Time to burn the sky. Behind them, the alien commander watching from orbit saw the energy spike from Sector 9. He stood slowly, hands trembling. Impossible, he whispered. That technology was destroyed. The sky above the desert flickered with light. The clouds turned red, and for the first time in years, the air smelled like human fire as Alira activates the Ember Core. A massive pulse shoots into the sky, cutting through space. Thousands of miles away, in a silent part of the galaxy, old Earth satellites blink to life. A beacon flashes. Survivors confirmed. Operation Retribution begin. Echoes of humanity. The signal had been sent. The sky above Sector 9 still glowed faintly. The air smelled like metal and memory. But down below, the world was shifting inside the ruined base. Mira stood frozen, her hand still glowing from where it had touched the Ember Core. She wasn't just holding power, she had connected to it. Whispers filled her ears. Not voices, but echo screams, battle cries, the sound of cities dying. It was the memory of every fallen human the core had absorbed. Kale rushed to her side, pulled her away from the chamber before it overloaded. "Mira," he said, shaking her. "Can you hear me?" She blinked, breath shaking. "I saw them," she whispered. "I saw all of them." "Who?" Kale asked. "Everyone we lost," she said. "They're still with us." Alira stepped forward. Her silver eyes locked on the core. "It has chosen her," she said softly. "That means she is the spark." Kale looked at her, confused. "The—" "What?" Alira turned to him, her voice calm but firm. "There's an old protocol buried deep in Earth's defense network," she said. "If the Ember Core ever finds a living human compatible with its memory chain, it activates Project Retribution." "Retribution?" Mira asked. Alira nodded. "A counterattack. One the aliens never expected." Suddenly, a deep rumble echoed through the ground, followed by a blast of static in the comms. A message played in a broken, robotic human voice. "Fleet command received. Signal mobilizing echo stations. Human resistance confirmed." Kale's eyes widened. "That means—" "We're not alone." Outside, in the deep desert, lights began to flicker beneath the sand. Buried bunkers, long sealed, came to life. Old drones lifted into the sky like ghosts of a forgotten army. But hope came with a price. Back in the enemies. "War Chamber." Supreme Commander Vorith stared at the signal readout. He slammed his fist onto the table. "They were supposed to be extinct," he growled. "Who failed to finish the purge?" His second-in-command stepped forward, pale and shaking. "We believe the Ember Core was destroyed, my lord." Vorith's eyes glowed. "Belief is not enough," he said coldly. "Send the Bone Eaters?" "The Bone Eaters?" The commander stammered. "But they're unstable." Vorith turned slowly, voice like poison. "So is war." Deep underground, Mira sat alone, staring at the data core. Kale walked in, quiet, carrying 2 cups of water. "You're not sleeping," he said. "I can't," she replied. "They keep talking to me." "The voices?" She nodded. "Not just memories," she said. "They want to be heard." "Then let them speak," Kale said. Mira closed her eyes, and for a moment the room went silent. Then the walls flickered, and a hologram appeared, old, glitchy, but clear. A woman in a general's uniform spoke, her voice calm and strong. "This is Commander Solon. Final log before the fall of Earth Colony Vora. If you are watching this, humanity lives. We left behind more than blood. We left behind rage, fire, and memory. Use it." The hologram vanished, leaving only silence. Mira looked at Kale, then at Alira, who had entered behind him. "We're not just survivors anymore." Mira said, "We're the answer." Suddenly, the alarm screamed again, louder this time. Alira's eyes narrowed. "They found us." Kale grabbed his weapon, tossed one to Myra. "This time, we don't run." The walls shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Then the sound came, bone cracking, claws scraping, metal twisting. Kale froze. "No," he whispered. "They sent them." Mira looked confused. "Who?" "The Bone Eaters," he said. "They were made to wipe out humans, creatures that don't feel. Don't stop. Don't die." Myra gripped her weapon tighter, heart pounding like thunder. "Let them come," she said. "We have something they don't." Alira raised an eyebrow. "What's that?" Mira stepped into the hall as the enemy breached the lower levels, eyes glowing. "We remember," she said, "as the battle begins, far above the planet. A hidden human fleet finally opens its eyes. One voice speaks across the system, cold and focused. This is Captain Rowe of Echo Squadron. Target locked, survivors confirmed. It's time to come home." The fall of Phalos, the walls were burning. Screams echoed through the halls of the underground base as Myra led the charge. The Bone Eaters had come with claws, with teeth, with rage. But Myra had come with something stronger: memory, fury, and fire. Beside her, Kale moved like a shadow, fast and deadly, his shoulders still bleeding, but his hands steady. Captain Illyra commanded the defense lines, shouting orders, holding the crumbling base together with sheer will. Outside, human drones from Echo Squadron rained fire across the desert sky. But the battle wasn't just outside. It was inside Mira now. She heard the ember core pulsing in her blood. It spoke to her in fragments. Voices of the past, of fallen soldiers, of her father. Don't just survive, rise. Myra climbed onto a broken console and looked down the hallway where the Bone Eaters were coming. These were not creatures made by nature. They were built in labs, bred to kill only humans, tall, skeletal, armored in black bone and synthetic muscle. They screamed without mouths, moved without breath. Hold the line, Mira said to the fighters behind her. Don't give them a single step. The Bone Eaters charged. She pulled the trigger, and the hallway lit with red fire. Far away, in the high city of Varnock, Supreme Commander Thalos watched the battle through a hologram. He stood silent, hands behind his back, his long cloak trailing across polished black stone. One of his officers spoke nervously. The human resistance is growing, my lord. They've awakened ancient systems. Thalos raised a hand slowly, and the officer fell silent. I allowed this to happen, Thalos said calmly. The room fell quiet, confused. Pardon. My lord? Thalos turned, his yellow eyes glowing. Sometimes, to crush hope, you must first let it rise. He pointed to the screen, where Myra's face appeared during the broadcast from Echo Squadron. Bring her to me alive, he said. She will. Kneel before me, and the others will follow. Back in the base, Kale was wounded again. Pinned under debris, Mira pulled him free with shaking hands, her face covered in dirt and blood. We can't win this way, she said. We have to go. To the source. Illyra looked at her, eyes narrowing. You want to take the fight to Thalos? Mira nodded. If we kill the monster at the top, the others fall. Kale coughed, wiping blood from his mouth. You won't get close, he said. The tower is locked under 10 levels of security and guarded by elites. I'll make them open it, she said. I'll make the whole world watch. Illyra stepped forward, placed a small device in Myra's palm. This can override the broadcast signal. She said, if you get into the tower, every screen in the system will see you. Myra nodded, eyes locked with hers. Then it's time they see what a human looks like when we stop running. 3 days later, the capital city shook as explosions tore through its outer gates. Mira and a small strike team entered the heart of the alien regime. The streets were silent, not from fear, but from curiosity. Aliens lined the walls, confused, watching as humans walked straight toward the tower. One shouted, "She's not a prisoner." Another whispered, "She's not afraid." Myra walked up the steps of the high tower, face calm, steps steady. Inside, the guards opened fire. Mira raised her hand, the ember core pulsing through her armor. The bullets melted in the air before they reached her. She moved like stormfire. They fell one by one. At the top, in a throne of steel, Thalos waited, old, cold, and cruel. "I remember you," he said. "The girl we fed to the beasts. You made me a symbol," she said. "Now I make you an example." He stood slowly, pulling a blade from his throne made from human bone. "I made peace through fear," he growled. "You will bring only war." Myra stepped forward, voice like fire. "Then let it burn." Fight was brutal, blade against blade, rage against control. Thalos was strong, but he had never fought someone who had nothing left to lose. With a scream, Mira drove her blade into his chest, pinning him against the wall. "I am every voice you silenced," she said, "every child you buried," and she pressed the broadcast trigger. All across the alien worlds, screens lit up. They saw Mira standing over the body of Thalos, not broken, not begging rising. As the tower burns behind her, Mira looks up at the sky from the clouds above. Hundreds of human ships descend long-lost war fleets returning home, and a voice plays from the stars, "This is Earth Command. To all surviving colonies, humanity has returned." Rise of the last human. The tower burned behind her. Smoke rose into the sky like a black flag, and the city of Varnak watched in silence. Mira stood above the ruins, blood on her hands, fire in her eyes. She had killed Thalos, the symbol of alien control. But now, everyone was looking at her. Aliens lined the streets, scared, confused, and quiet. The human fleet hovered above the city, shadows of metal blocking out the stars. Dozens of drop pods circled, ready to strike. Captain Alira's voice echoed in Mira's earpiece. "Say the word," she said, "and we end this world tonight." Mira said nothing. She stared down at Thales's broken body, and something inside her twisted. She remembered the screams, the chains, the monsters, the betrayals. But she also remembered something else, her father's voice. "Power is not what you take," he once said. "It's what you protect." Inside the command ship above, Earth's High Council watched her through a live broadcast. Admiral Kalen folded his arms, his face stone cold. "She has the kill switch," he said. "The city's core is under her feet." Another general asked, "Can she handle that kind of decision?" Kalen looked at the screen, at Myra's face. "We're about to find out," he said. Kale, wounded but alive, limped into the smoking tower ruins. He stood beside her, voice low. "You did it," he said. "Thalos is dead." Myra didn't answer. Right away. "He was never the real threat," she said finally. "Fear was." Kale looked out across the city. The aliens hadn't run. They hadn't attacked. They were just ... watching, waiting. Myra stepped forward, holding the broadcast control in her hand. She tapped it once, and every screen in the system flickered to life. Every alien world, every human ship, every station, every slum, every palace, they all saw her. Mira, the girl who was once tied to a post and left to be eaten, now the most powerful human alive. She took a deep breath and spoke. "My name is Myra. I am human. You tried to erase us, burn us, bury us, break us. But we are still here. And now I have a choice. To do what was done to us, destroy your cities, your children, your future. Or to break the cycle." She paused, looked down at the detonator in her hand, then threw it to the ground, shattering it. "We are not your monsters," she said. "But if you ever come for us again, we will show you what monsters fear across the galaxy." The message landed like thunder. On alien warships, weapons were lowered. On forgotten human colonies, tears flowed on Earth. The council stood and saluted the screen. For the first time in years, humanity had a leader, born not from command, but from survival. Later that night, Mira stood alone on the balcony of the tower ruins. The stars were clear again, the smoke fading. Kale joined her, his arm in a sling. "Still think you are just a prisoner?" he asked. Mira smiled, tired but proud. "I was," she said. "Then they tried to make me a symbol. And now?" Kale asked. She looked up at the stars. "Now I'm a warning," she said, "and a promise. Rise of the last human. In the outer reaches of space, a deep space signal is received. A hidden vault opens beneath the ruins of Earth's first colony. Inside, a computer blinks alive, showing Mira's broadcast, and one word appears on screen, glowing white in the dark. Phase 2. Rebirth.